there's a lot of demand for training, education, certification, all the complete learning cycle. And the more you are typically originally on the customer and partner side, you will realize there are also synergies with the internal training. And when you ask, in our example, for example, the CEdMA members, who do you train? Who are you responsible for in terms of building the skill sets? What you can see across the board, there's not one specific target audience. It goes across customers, different types of partners, and we intentionally differentiated between post-sales, where you have partner consultants, support staff, you have architects, and then the pre-sales side, where partners, you have sales and, for example, sales engineers and pre-sales activities. And what you can see on the left side here on this chart is, in general, even if you look back at 2020 or in the most recent survey, 2024, it's across the board the responsibility to cover different audiences, of course, with the majority being on customers. Can we impact product sales? Only 14% of the CEdMA members, as an example, measure it. And it's not overly complex to measure it. In my previous company, for example, we divided customers being trained versus customers not trained, and the revenue each of the two groups did. In customers trained had 4.6 times more product revenue. So there's a massive impact, and you can measure it as long as you have from a data set both the product sales side and the education sales side. But it's a minority. You can measure other things like renewal rates, net promoter scores, number of features used, etc. on the product side. But it's, as mentioned, a small group of organizations even focusing on it. The good news is, if we look back over the last 10, 15 years, the time it takes to develop content has been reduced over time. Here, as an example, we have a comparison 2020 to 2024. The data, what you can see here, just in order to explain it, let's take the example of an instructor-led class, which is at the bottom, IoT. If you see here the data, it's roughly a bit more than 20. It means one day of content takes you a bit more than 20 days of development. And initially it was over 30, something like 32, 33 days. So the time it takes to develop one day of training has been reduced almost by 25% in the last 4 years. There's a clear kind of conflict between how you are bonused on one side and what you're supposed to do on the other side, right, in terms of objectives. If I invited, for example, to present about the academy to our CEO, he won't care about the revenue. He will care about how many partners did we enable? Do we have a certain skill set in the market? Do we have a gap of skills in the market space? That's what's really relevant. So it's all about the business case we are presenting. It's not about, at the end, the financials is quite often you represent 1-2% of the company revenue. Right? That's very minor. Since years, the ecosystem for education teams become more and more complex. So as an example, most organizations have the learning management system in the heart of their training tools, but you need to connect to a virtual classroom. So if you create a class, then the class automatically is also a virtual session. If you have a virtual lab, you want to have the same session being created in the virtual lab. If you have a certification tool, you want to make sure the exams are run and the data from the exams are coming back. So whatever you look at, there needs to be a connection.